Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 Mortal Kombat games ever made. Now for the most part, this list is going to be extremely subjective, and I'm not going to lie, I will be slightly biased at places, and obviously when I'm talking about it, I will address why. Now for this list, I've made a criteria that each game must meet. Of course, the most important one is gameplay, and how it's diverse, addictive, and in general extremely fun to play. Story. Now unlike most fighting games, Mortal Kombat has never been scared to intertwine story within their gameplay, or forge an extremely interesting narrative. We also have to take into account the reception a certain game has gotten from fans, and critics alike, as I feel it's always been very important with what fans have to say, as the input can be taken into account for the future of a franchise. Now I just want to say to everyone currently watching that this is my own personal list, and it's completely fine to disagree with this, as like I said at the beginning, I am going to be slightly biased, so if you completely disagree, that's honestly fine, and do feel free in the comments below to put down your own personal top 5s list. Now I'd also like to remind you guys that if I don't mention your favorite game on this list, it doesn't mean that it's a bad game. Like I said, this is my personal top 5. Now on that note, let's get on with the video. Now at number 5 we have Mortal Kombat Deception, a game that I would say is the best of all of the 3D games made. Deception brought a rich narrative to the game, to which the previous games before have never been able to quite approach in such a way that it was really good. Deception was fantastic in breaking that mold, that mode obviously being the conquest mode. Minus the rather weak protagonist in Shujinko, we were able to explore the realms of Mortal Kombat in a way that we never really have before, and it made fans realize that there's a lot more going on in this universe than what we had previously understood, and it was a fantastic way of allowing players to kind of get around and learn more about this really rich universe, and it was an extremely amazing breath of fresh air. Now the story mode for the game isn't flawless, it can drag on for a little bit, and the ending is deemed by many to be somewhat anticlimactic, suffering ultimately from the plot armor of friendship gives me power, I can win, which quite a few people didn't essentially like, although it did make sense in the narrative. Now in terms of gameplay, Deception had a massive roster of characters, that being 26 in total, and each of these 26 characters had 3 different fighting styles. It was very intriguing. On top of a pretty sweet arsenal of fatalities, the game refined its 3D gameplay, being much smoother than Deadly Alliance had. So the gameplay in this was pretty spot on, and the game more or less had extremely positive reactions from both fans and critics, praising it for its conquest mode and its refined gameplay. Now Deception will always have a special place in my heart, not because I absolutely sucked at it, but because it was the first Mortal Kombat game I actually kind of got around to playing, and over the years my love for the franchise has continued to grow, which is quite evident here. So Deception will always be one of my favorites. It's not a flawless game, but it's definitely one of the stronger games within the series. Now at number 4 we have Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, the best Mortal Kombat spin-off game ever made. Shaolin Monks was definitely a breath of fresh air, as it came away from the standard 3D fighter, adding a very intriguing and fun beat-em-up aspect to the game, something which Special Forces ultimately failed in. It was a nice change of pace, and had an extremely fun retelling of Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. Plus the game had a fantastic co-op aspect to it, so it wasn't just single player all the time. You could in fact play with your friend. Now Shaolin Monks isn't just loved for its gameplay, but it's loved because of its change of pace. At this point, the spin-off games for Mortal Kombat have more or less been terrible. One obviously being Sub-Zero Mythologies, which was a piece of shit pretty much, outside of its story anyway, and Special Forces, which pretty much speaks for itself. So it was fantastic to see a spin-off game that was actually done right, and like I mentioned earlier, the game is fantastic, and it's loved by many of the fans. Now I never played Shaolin Monks myself, but I will say that if I did probably get my hands on this game, it may have been higher on this list, but until then it stays at number 4. Now at number 3 we have Mortal Kombat X. I know this is going to be quite a controversial one. Now MKX is the most recent installment in the Mortal Kombat franchise. Now from a selling standpoint, the game did absolutely phenomenal, and pretty much exceeded everyone's expectations in sales, considering it was both marketed very well and was extremely appealing because of the fantastic graphics and very enticing gameplay. Now from a gameplay standpoint, X was phenomenal, and that's vastly due to the extremely impressive variation system. Now yes, there's going to be some people who are quite upset of how some super moves were split into different variations, but hey, balancing. Now the variation system added another layer to the game, which led to a lot of counter picking, and I guess some very smart matchups for certain people. It was something that I saw very rarely in fighting games, so it made it that bit more appealing to me. The Mortal Kombat X story mode is a fairly decent one. It's by no means the best, but it's brought us some fantastic new characters, and ones that I'm very glad to see around, as they have been fleshed out a lot more than some of the previous previous new characters incorporated into the game. Looking at you, Suhao. So as much flack as the story does get, for every wrong it makes, it does something right. Now yes, there is a lot of plot armor, but so has every single previous Mortal Kombat game before it. Now there are flaws that are very visible in the game, such as the excessive amount of guest characters, and I guess the somewhat predictable storyline. However, through the incorporation of Mortal Kombat X, we've had some absolutely fantastic moments with the game. The growth of characters, the incorporation of fantastic characters, the 13-0, the list honestly does go on. Now yes, from what you can tell, I'm very biased about this game, and that may be due to the fact that without the success of Mortal Kombat X, my channel probably wouldn't have blown up. So you can probably understand why I'm extremely biased, and the fact that I've put just ridiculous amounts of time into this game. Anyway, that's it for number 3. Now at number 2 we have Mortal Kombat Trilogy, the quote-unquote perfected version of Mortal Kombat 3. Mortal Kombat Trilogy brought us an amazing roster of characters, with many of the characters in there being fan favorites till today. It's considered by many to be the best Mortal Kombat roster ever put together. There wasn't really too much of a story back then, as it really didn't dive into its narrative too much, but it was truly the characters and the gameplay that made this arcade fighter so iconic. It's beloved by many of the old school fans and new ones alike, and has gained both positive receptions from critics and fans, so it is in many cases universally loved, and was quite a way to send off the original trilogy, before transitioning into the 3D era. Mortal Kombat Trilogy is a game that still stands the test of time, and is still played by many fans. Now, due to its love by fans and longevity, it would have been extremely hard for me to not mention this on my list. There's a lot going on in this game, especially for its time, so that's why Mortal Kombat Trilogy is at number 2 here. Now for honorable mentions here, I'm going to say it's every Mortal Kombat game, except these two. These two can fuck off. Every single Mortal Kombat game that has come out has been good in its own right, so I myself cannot dictate which is a great game, especially if it's from your childhood. Again, except these two because they're shit. But I'm pretty sure you guys get where I'm coming from, on a slightly more serious note. And like I said at the very beginning here, I wasn't lying when I said I was going to be biased. It's just different people's personal choice. And without Mortal Kombat, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. And that's really why that I say every single Mortal Kombat game is fantastic. Anyway, at number 1 we have Mortal Kombat 9, the extremely successful sequel slash reboot. Mortal Kombat 9 is what I'd probably say is the best way to kind of reboot a universe and take it in not only a different direction, but one that expands the story in a way that we haven't seen before. Excluding the ridiculous amount of character deaths, the story mode in this game is absolutely solid. It's fantastic and is loved by so many fans and critics that it's seen by many as the best Mortal Kombat game ever made. The game returns back to form into its 2D style and was crisp and fantastic. It also wasn't scared to dive into the new realms of using a meter system, and it paid off extremely well. I would arguably say that Mortal Kombat 9 is the best Mortal Kombat game made, as it was one for me that allowed me to return back to the series and somewhat reinvent it for my generation. And it's a game that I've just played countless hours on, and something that I will forever love as a fan. And that's been my list for my top 5 Mortal Kombat games. Hopefully you all enjoyed this list and didn't mind me being too biased. But this is one that I've been wanting to do for a while, and like I said, this is completely subjective. You're honestly more than welcome to put your own personal top 5 in the list below. I know I'm probably gonna get some special snowflake in a comment crying about me putting Sub-Zero mythologies in the shit list, where it deserves to be. But anyway, yeah, this has been my top 5s list, guys. Now, if possible, let's try getting this video to 750 likes, as you guys have been doing a fantastic job recently of constantly hitting my like goals. And if you guys want to see more top 5s, please put down in the comments below what you'd love to see. I'd also like to let everyone know here that tomorrow I'm going to be covering the Dead or Alive movie. Yeah, that shit show. So if you're interested, you're more than welcome to stick around. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the video. Now as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care and I will see you all next time.